you, so welcome to both of you. HuffPost UK and The Times. It didn't say it up there, but I remember. So there we go. Once again, we reflected this in the last hour. Practically every single front page dominated by the story of Prince Andrew stepping aside from his titles. Let's kick off with the Daily Mail, because they kind of sum it up in that front page. What they say, Andrew falls on his sword, and they talk about intense pressure from the king. He's relinquished a number of titles that he held. Yeah, and the choice of picture, I think, is interesting because, you know, it symbolises or demonstrates exactly what he's given up, because that is him in his Order of the Garter robes, which he will no longer be able to wear, at least not in public. You might want to wear them around the house, maybe, just to remind him of old times. But he's no longer the Duke of York. He's no longer Order of the Garter. He's also having to relinquish his position as Knight Grand Cross of Royal Victoria Order. And, you know, all these things mean a lot to him personally, and it'll be a huge blow that he has had to, and it's not voluntary, let's be honest. He's been told by the king, you are having to give these up, because of, as we know, all the various allegations which he denies. You name it, the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, Victoria Giuffre, the Chinese spying stuff, you know, just so many scandals. And I think the king has basically decided enough's enough. Well, yes, and that's not been publicly acknowledged, but we are given the sense that the king is glad that this decision has been made. And in fact, in his statement, which I can't lay my hands on, there is, from Prince Andrew, when he made this announcement, he talked about the reason why he was stepping aside or wouldn't be using these titles. And it was because he said these continued accusations against him were a distraction to the work of the royal family. But he is keen to stress once again, as he always has done, he says, I vigorously deny the accusations against him. But what do you make of the timing of this, Cindy? There is the memoir of Virginia Giuffre, one of his chief accusers, posthumously being published next week.
Yeah, so you had the Mail on Sunday's revelations last week that he seems to have the account of his relationship with Epstein wasn't quite accurate, whether or not he forgot that he continued to be in touch with Jeffrey Epstein, or he outright lied about that. That's pretty big because, you know, it raises the question of what else is he not being totally honest about. Now then, with this memoir coming out next week, I think there was definitely a feeling of hitting this situation just on the head and just kind of preemptively before, you know, we've already seen some extracts from the memoir which are just really kind of disgusting, really, about the kind of things that she, you know, her perception of what the events were. And I think this happening last night, means that when that memoir comes out, you know, some of the fury will be taken out of it because he's already been stripped of his titles. Now, of course, one thing that he's not been stripped of is his lavish 30-room home.
Yeah, this is picked up in the Daily Express, isn't it?
Yes, in the Daily Express, yeah, on Windsor Estate. So 30 rooms, and obviously is part of the royal estate, but he's got a private tenancy agreement with the Crown Estate on that one, so he's allowed to stay as long as he can keep up the maintenance costs. And don't know how he's managing to do that. Don't know how long he will be managing to do that. But for now, the royals are saying basically that they can't legally kick him out of that one. Yeah, so he's likely to stay in that house. He also keeps his title of prince as well because he was born with it. Yeah. But it does beg the question of what does he do? Obviously, he's not going to be invited to royal events, so he won't be embarrassing them in the crowds at some of those royal occasions. But the question is, what does he do? Well, absolutely. How does he fill his time and how does he pay for his own upkeep? This tenancy agreement won't be cheap. And it begs all sorts of questions, doesn't it? One of the other papers talks about how he will now be under pressure to go even further and voluntarily give up his lease on the Royal Lodge, where Sarah, his wife, lives as well. Who's also lost her title. She's no longer the Duchess of York. I think that will be something that he would be very reluctant. I mean, he'd be reluctant enough to give up all these titles, but to give up living in such grandeur and in this huge mansion, I think would be a big step. That would be the final ignominy for him, I think. And you get a sense from the papers that the king has been keen to protect their daughters, Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, who obviously utterly blameless, but
really difficult time for them, with both of their parents sort of publicly humiliated like this.
Yeah, publicly humiliated, and is the kind of thing that has a lot of cut through. I mean, I kind of hate that phrase, but it's true, you know. I mean, everyone knows who Andrew and Fergie are. Everyone has been very interested in Epstein's story. The allegations are just horrific. For the girls, I don't know what it must have been like the last few years. So it is, you know, this way of doing things, that he's not formally stripped of the titles through an act of parliament, but that they are extant but ineffective, basically, means that Beatrice and Eugenie also keep their titles. And they need working royals. You know, in a world where Harry and Meghan are no longer there, they need working royals. And when Charles and Kate are both, you know, sickly, the more help they can get, the better. And obviously with Andrew out of the scene now as well.
Indeed, but whether or not there are still stories about him in the papers, I suspect there will be, despite him stepping back.
Yeah.
Let's move on, Kevin. Another story that has dominated headlines for the last at least 24 hours has been this decision in Birmingham to not let Maccabi Tel Aviv fans attend the match due in next month against Aston Villa in the Europa League. You've picked out the Telegraph's coverage on the front page of this and what the government knew ahead of this decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think this would have been on every front page had it not been for the Prince Andrew story dropping late last night. It's become a huge political battle now, really, between Downing Street and the police and the security officials in the West Midlands. Basically, Downing Street have made it known that Keir Starmer does not approve of this decision to bar the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from coming. He wants that overturned. He wants them to be there. But the advice that the police had received, and they agreed, was that they should not be there. And as we sit here right now, that is still the state of play.
And he's in a difficult position, isn't he? Because
Very
he doesn't want to be seen to overrule the operational independence of the police, is it?
Well,
He's got to tread carefully, hasn't
Well,
he?
yeah, we had a bizarre briefing yesterday with Number 10, in which they said that, you know, the Prime Minister still believes in the operational independence of the police, but not this time, you know.
What I say still.
Yeah, so he's now been, you know, if he doesn't get his way, then he looks weak. But if he does get his way, you're right, that completely goes against this idea of operational independence for the police. And also, if he does get his way and the fans come in, God forbid, if there is trouble, then people will, I think, turn around and say to Keir Starmer, well, hang on a minute, you insisted this happen. And the police will say, well, this is what we warned about. So it's fraught with danger for the Prime Minister.
And it sounds like we'll get a decision early next week. In the meantime, the government said it's exploring what extra support police in Birmingham would need to allow for both sides to attend the match. But very briefly, Kevin, this article, the headline says Mahmoud knew of ban on Israeli football fans. If you read the article, it suggests the Home Office were informed it was a possibility.
A possibility, yeah. The headline makes you think that she knew about that they were going to get banned. It turns out she was told last week that it was a possibility. And I think the inference is, well, why didn't...
Could the Home Office have done more to get on the front foot or not?
I mean, perhaps, you know, they might have been able to see this one coming and at least prepared Number 10 and got their ducks in a row. But again, it comes down to the operational independence. Now, the Home Secretary couldn't at that stage have basically gone steaming in and said, no, that can't happen because it's up to the police.
Although she maybe could have said, I can offer more resources if it really ended up this being your decision. And at that point, you know, you might have headed off this row a little bit more, because the row came from the police having already made the decision and then seeming as if we can't, it's irreversible, and Keir Starmer didn't seem to even know about that coming down the road.
Yeah.
We've only got a minute and a half, so I think it might be appropriate to cheer everybody up with a story about... Well, does it cheer everyone up?
It's actually a very sad story.
I haven't read the story, can you tell? This is in the Times. Oh, yeah, I can tell from the headline it's not great. Lapland fat-shamed me, says Santa.
Yeah, Mike Mendoza is a 77-year-old part-time Santa, and he's been doing this for a long time. And he got the gig of his life at Lapland on the Windsor estate this year. But when he went for a fitting afterwards, they told him he was too fat and has now sacked him. And this is, you know, quite a big contract. So actually, you know, there is monetary repercussions here as well.
£9,000?
Yeah, and it also just raises the question of, you know, I mean, you can see the pictures. He looks like a perfectly shaped Santa.
It's great.
Well, yeah, the night before Christmas poem is all about, you know, Santa having a belly like a bowl full of jelly. So, you know, it's pretty clear that Santa is supposed to be on the chubby side, and he does look very festive and
But
Santa-like
then you
in that
also see
picture.
on that picture on the top right for the fitting where the trousers just don't quite do up. So something's not great.
Can you not
here.
just have got bigger trousers?
Apparently
You know,
not.
he looks very sad in that picture as well, with
looks
his
so
head
look very
bowed.
sad. Oh,
yeah,
well,
so this poor man, he's too
poor
fat to
man.
be Santa.
I can't believe I thought it was a happy story to cheer us all up. I'll take that back. Good to see you both. You'll be back in the next hour for another take on the papers. Thanks for now.
I'm Dominic Waghorn, Sky's International Affairs Editor, covering a world that seems to be unravelling.